You almost need permission to think that way, and
Yeah.
to make it the norm as opposed to the way we live our lives at the moment. So you did some traveling. You sort of uprooted yourself from New York, which I have to say I think is one of the most beautiful states I've ever been to. I went to the Catskills, and I didn't want to come back to Florida. I really didn't. I just thought it was it's like England. It's green and trees and it's just beautiful. But you decided you were going to go a sort of a roundabout route from New York to Florida. Tell me about that.
So we came to Florida the long way. We went up through the New England states all the way up through Maine. And then we took the border of the United States over. We went through North Dakota, Montana, all the way over to Washington State. We drove down that coast through Oregon, through California, and then we came all the way through Nevada, down into Texas, across Alabama, Mississippi, and all those, down the west side of Florida, and then back up to the east side of Florida, west side of Florida and to the east side of Florida where we are now.
So what made you do that?
You know, when my husband was officially retired, we decided that New York wasn't the best place to retire to. And leaving, I said to him, I am not going to be one of those New Yorkers that retire and move to Florida. That's just not in the cards for me. But we really didn't know where we wanted to live. So we packed our 4 kids, 2 dogs and a hamster into a camper, and we traveled around the country for 2 years, stopping in different places that we thought that we would want, that we could possibly live in. And we would really embrace the culture of each state. And it was just such an amazing experience. I feel like we had to give up a lot of things in order to be able to travel like that. And I think that that's something that holds a lot of people back. And for anybody that's even considering thinking that it's something that they might want to do, start setting up for it. Come up with a plan, write it down, write milestones that you need to achieve in order to make this happen. Because had we not done it in that time, in the place that we are now, I would never be able to do it again. It just, everything fell into place at exactly the right time when it needed to in order to take that trip. Our kids loved it. It was a great bonding experience for our family to spend all that time close together. They weren't so big. I didn't have teenagers yet. It was just an incredible, incredible experience. And I think that everybody should be able to experience all the beauty in this country if they have the opportunity to, or if they could make the opportunity to.
Okay. Presumably you were homeschooling and things like that.
So setting up, it took us a full year to set up, that we knew that he was going to retire and that we were going to move. So we started homeschooling while we lived in New York, and we joined homeschooling groups, and we had people teach us how to do it and show us the way. When we started traveling, we followed New York State curriculum, but we more road schooled. We kind of woke up in the morning and said, all right, what do you guys want to learn about today? And we would actually go out into the world and learn about what different fishing they do in an area. Or when we were in Ely, Minnesota, we learned about mining and about wolves. And so it was a more eclectic version of learning, so not so traditional.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. What a wealth of knowledge you've passed on to your children.
You know, at 16, my 16-year-old still says, thank you for giving me that opportunity. So I think that it was well received by then. And like I said, back then, you know, she was 14 and 13. Well, I guess I did have teenagers then when she was traveling. But they appreciated it. We all had a wonderful time doing it. Now, when we go in the camper or even in the car for 30 minutes, they're all fighting like cats and dogs. And I don't fit in here, and there's no more room. And so I'm glad that we had the opportunity to do it when we did.
So I have to ask you, you obviously ended up in Florida, but where did you put all your belongings while you obviously had a house in New York and then you pile into a big camper van?
So I've learned that there are 2 types of people in this world. That there's one type of person that says, and what did you do with all your stuff? And then there's another person that says, oh my God, that must have been the greatest experience. What was your favorite place? It's amazing that some people are, and I think that everybody's both concerned about both. So we put all of our stuff into a pod. We loaded it into the garage and we put it in storage. And 2 years later, when we moved in Florida and the pod was delivered to the house, we opened it up and it was like, oh my God, all my great stuff is in here. And some things that my kids absolutely, and insisted on putting in the pod that I knew was ridiculous and they were going to grow out of it. They opened it up and they were like, oh my God, it's so funny. I thought that I was supposed to save this. So it was a great lesson in being a minimalist and really trying to decide what it is that was important to us and what it wasn't. No, what you think is important and then might necessarily not be so important in a couple of years.
I think as you get older, you realize that stuff is so not important, and relationships and learning and communicating is what is key to a happy life, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the inevitable question. Where was your favorite place? I know I'm being very sort of conventional here, but I'd like to know.
So we're all different. Everybody the 6 people that live in my house all have a different idea of where their favorite place was. My favorite place was Albuquerque, New Mexico. I felt that it was a beautiful desert. You could live just outside in the country, and not have too many people around you. And then a 5-minute drive in, and there was just a lot of museums and culture and great food and great people and music in the streets all day and night. And I really had a sense of I could spend my life in this area. But the temperature gets too cold, and everybody in the house but me and my one daughter like the heat. And so my husband said, well, my birthday is New Year's Eve. I would love to see what Florida is like. I want to be in the Keys for my 40th birthday. And so we drove down to Key Largo, and we got there in December, and I looked around and I said, not so bad for winter, you know. The palm trees were beautiful. The weather was beautiful. The people here are amazing. I wound up finding a community on the East Coast that is just filled with the most amazing people. I live in a development that I think most people dream about living in, a community where all the neighbors care and like each other. And so I feel really blessed that we wound up in the exact place that we were supposed to wind up in. But it was work. It's not that it was a little bit of work, a little bit of luck, but it was also a lot of work and good decisions on our part too. And I think that being holistic, we recognize that there is a little luck played into it, but that you also have to put the work in order to get there.
Okay, well, our time is rapidly running out. Can you just give us 3 or 4 quick tips on where to start with becoming holistic? Just, and then we'll have to wrap up, unfortunately. I could talk to you for hours, but just give us a few tips.
So if you're looking to be holistic, I think that first people start with food, and they start eating organically, choosing organic vegetables, maybe joining a co-op. But for me, the number one most important thing is finding someone that can help you with it. Because even though it seems like common sense, it really is extra sense. You need somebody to kind of guide you on the path, and finding an acupuncturist or a chiropractor in your area, they're all over the place, and that's usually a great place to start, is finding people through your acupuncturists or your chiropractors, or through local chapters of Holistic Mom Network is a great place to meet people. Holistic Education Foundation is a great way to meet people.
Absolutely.
There's a new Holistic Chamber of Commerce, and you can go onto their directory and you could find practitioners in your area. So any of those, reaching out to people and kind of building your social network.
That sounds like really, really good advice. Okay, well, I need to wrap the program up now. I would like to know more about this, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to be contacting you outside the show to see what I need to do to make my life more holistic, as well as my husband's. So I guess you're never too late. I guess you're never too old to start to learn.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Okay, well,
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's a pleasure. I'd really like to thank you, Kat, for sharing your story. And I know that it will be an inspiration to many of our listeners and give them things to talk about. You know, the options there are unlimited. You can start in a very small way, and maybe you'll get bitten by the bug that Kat has been bitten by and turn your life into holistic paradise. Now, if you have any questions or comments or would like to know more about a guest on the show, please contact me at overtheedgesue@gmail.com. That's overtheedgesue@gmail.com. Kat, I forgot for you to give your contact information. Just briefly give that. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. You could find me on the internet at hefgibbs.org, or you could email me at hefgibbs@gmail.com.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. What I would say, because Kat has this charitable organization, is please go forth, do good, and learn, because we all need to keep learning. Thanks very much, Kat. It's been great speaking to you, and I will be contacting you after the show.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.